this is the point where y'all ask if I am okay. And I am. I'm fine right now, in this moment. Whether or not that will be the case when April comes around is a completely different question. Hello, my lovely friends. It's Margaret. Welcome back to my channel. Today, it is time to find out what I will be reading in April. Yes, I said find out, because if you're new here, I have a TBR game, and I don't know what I am going to be reading this month. It is decided by the little pieces of paper in this cup, which I'm going to try to match the pieces of paper in the cup to books that I know I need to read, which you can't see, but they're right here. Oh, you can see them. They are in the frame. Let's fix that. Today we are going to be talking about all the things I am doing in the month of April. We're going to be talking about how I did in the month of March as far as my TBR went, and then we're going to be seeing what quests I'm doing for Fablen in the month of April. If you're new here, haven't heard of Fablen, links will be in the description box. Basically, I am an adventurer going on quests who will hopefully be graduating this semester. And we're going to be talking about updates for Fablen. There are some things that you need to know that I will be walking y'all through in tomorrow's video when I walk Cal through them. We will start out with the one that you are expecting with me. I know I've been a little remiss in getting all of the things for this particular reading challenge out. In the month of April, we have a group book, we have some new characters, and we will be doing a watch-along of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The group book for the month of April will be Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky by Kwame Mbalia. This is a mixture of American Southern lore and also African mythology, specifically, I believe, West African mythology. Tristan ends up going over to his grandparents because of some event that has happened. I can't remember what that event was, but he ends up going to his grandparents and he accidentally punches a hole in the sky and then has to fix the fact that he has punched a hole in the sky. Listen, I read synopses once, go, that sounds interesting, put it on my Goodreads TBR, and then forget what the book is about. That's how it works. I just know I want to read it at some point eventually. As far as the characters we're releasing go, we are releasing Zemo because everybody seems to like him for unknown reasons. For Zemo, you need to read a book by a continental European author, a book that involves dancing, a book with a character who intentionally starts drama, a book with an unreliable narrator, read or watch something that challenges classism, a book where someone is a double-crossed, read a fancy book, read a book that has an aristocrat, and read a book that has a jailbreak. I did take some of these prompts and put them in my cup of trouble. We're going to call it the cup of trouble. We also released the new Captain America. So we had to obviously release a Sam Wilson version of Captain America, since we all know that that's where we're going with this. So in this one, you need to read a book with a boat, read a book about a younger brother, read a book where a character confronts history, read a diverse retelling, read/watch something where the antagonist is the circumstance, not a person, read a book set in Louisiana, read a book where characters reconnect, read nonfiction by a Black author, and read a sequel. We also have a redacted board that you'll find out more about as we go through the month. If you're mad at the hosts for this, please know that anger should be directed at me. This was my idea, and I have fun with this. Okay, and then as far as the watch-along goes, the way that we're doing this, since we have the shows, is we have like watch by dates, and then we have one day that we're gonna watch like the last episode or so of the show. So for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, since there are 6 episodes, have episode 1 and 2 finished by April 9th, 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think that means that you need to have it finished by Saturday. For episodes 3 and 4, make sure that you complete them by April 16th. And then episodes 5 and 6, we will be having a group watch along. April 23rd, we will decide the time when we get closer to that time. So the second thing that I need to keep in mind as I'm going through April and March, April and May. April and May. The second thing I need to keep in mind as I'm going through April and May is the Curious Minds Book Club. It's a book club that I'm running with Novel Serendipity, where every couple months we read one nonfiction and one fiction book. This time around our picks are Hood Feminism, Notes from the Women That a Movement Forgot by Mickey Kendall, and then our fiction pick is going to be Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed. I am also trying to take part in the magical Readathon, Orilium Readathon, whatever we call it. It happens from April 1st until April 30th. It's based on the kind of format that G over at Book Roast came up with for the Owls Readathon, but she has repurposed it and recreated a completely different, like her own world that she's created and a magic system that she's created, which sounds really, really interesting. I am participating as a novice human from Carador, and then I ended up doing the quiz. I ended up doing the quiz and joining the archivists. And then the way that the readathon works is we each get a calling, and you can get an O, I think outstanding, qualified, and distinguished, so O, Q, and D, and you have to reach certain grades in certain subjects in order to be able to pursue the calling that you want in the second half of the readathon. You'll get that TBR in a little bit. I am also continuing on with the Liveship Traders read-along that is put over by Bethany over at Beautifully Bushcaged Bethany. We are moving on to the second book, Mad Ship by Robin Hobb. We will see how I feel about this one, because I had feelings about Ship of Magic, and you'll see when we get to the wrap-up what my feelings about it. They're mixed feelings, so we'll see how this series continues on for me. It's going to be interesting. And then the final thing that I am doing is I am doing Realm-a-thon. That is put on by Cassidy over at Covers with Cassidy. This is another magic-based readathon. She has like 4 different like kingdoms that you're in, and you choose a kingdom and you read books for prompts that either take magic away from one of the adjacent kingdoms or adds magic to your kingdom. And the way that prompts work, I think I'm going to be more like on the fly with this one, because there are a lot of prompts that just could fit anything. So I decided that we're just going to see what we can do. I am joining Team Serene, which is the Water Kingdom, because the subgenre is whimsical fantasy. From what I understand, you do not have to be reading fantasy books, but you do get extra points if you're reading whimsical fantasy, and then also if you're reading military fantasy, which is Cassidy's favorite kind of subgenre. It goes from April 1st until April 30th. I'll have all of the information linked down below in the description box, but yeah, I'm also participating in that. So that's a lot of things. A lot of things. And now, with that out of the way, it is time to check in with Magdalene Embercloak and see how she did in her final year of Questmore Academy for Adventurous Exploits. What you need to know going into this is that of the 7 books that were chosen last time, 5 of them need to be completed in order to complete Magdalene's academic career and let her go forth into Fablen as a questing hero. Now, when we last left Magdalene, she'd done pretty well on the academic level. However, there was a little kerfuffle when it came to one of the assignments that she got in her internship, and that was finding the wizard Merlin's ring. She looked high, she looked low, and she could not find that ring in Merlin's tower. Now, Merlin doesn't go very many places these days. He just mostly stays, like, in his little place. However, it's got all kinds of magical nooks and crannies, and so no one quite knows where that ring has gotten to. And Magdalene, being rather bothered by the fact that she had failed in this quest and could not find this ring, she found herself at Merlin's doorstep on the first day of her 3rd year, and decided that she was going to do what she had not been able to do last year. She was going to find that ring. Magdalene, being the scholar that she is, went through cataloging each of the little pocket dimensions that Merlin had created, looking through each one for this ring, and also happening to create a lovely map. She used those skills that she learned from the cartography class in 1st year. She used those skills to make a map of the tower with all of the pocket dimensions that currently existed, and as it turned out, they found the ring at the very, very tip top of the tower. It had apparently been carried by one of Merlin's tiny little pet dragons into a little pocket dimension where the dragon was stashing its hoard. They left most of the hoard there, but they did retrieve the ring and get it back to Merlin, as it was a very powerful ring. After that rather exhausting endeavor, Magdalene decided that she deserved a nice night out, and so she went to the local tavern to enjoy a drink with her friends, to just kind of unwind. Working with Merlin, while he is a very lovely person, can be a little bit stressful, especially when things go missing. And so she treated herself to just a nice night out with her friends. Now, obviously, Magdalene is still enrolled at Questmore, so there are some academic classes that she needs to take. Specifically, she did sign up for Shape-Shifting 101, and as it turns out, she does have a particular talent for turning herself into other people, creatures, objects, all kinds of things. For her final exam, she turned herself into a piece of paper, specifically a quiz with an A+ on it in big old red lettering, and had herself placed on her teacher's desk. The professor did actually deposit the quest back on her desk before realizing that she was no longer in the class, at which point, obviously, she revealed herself. She did get the highest grade in the class. Now, during her night at the tavern, she did happen to run into a traveling acting troupe. When they found out that Magdalene happened to be a scholar who had a little, just a little bit of an interest in the old fables and lore of Fablen, they asked her to come back because they had a few questions. They wanted to see what she knew about the original story and compare their versions as they wrote the script for this play. Magdalene was more than happy to meet up with this traveling acting troupe once again, and then when she found out where they were going, she decided that she was just going to tag along with them for that particular leg of the journey, because their next stop was her home of Briarshire Swamp. Magdalene went with this acting troupe all the way to Briarshire Swamp. They stayed the night, entertained the town, and then they continued on to Briarshire proper, where they were scheduled to spend a few nights entertaining folks there. Magdalene, however, did stay behind so that she could spend some time with her family, as it had been a few years since she'd seen them. She hadn't seen them since she entered in Questmore, so she hung out at the family farm, helped a little bit with the planting season. Magdalene obviously wasn't able to stay long. She did have to get back to Questmore because the semester was still going, but her family did have a giant fair that they were going to be taking some of her father's stone masonry to, so she helped them load up the cart. Unfortunately, they did get a little bit lost on the way. They had to stop and ask a local farmer for directions because they were having a hard time finding the fair. They'd taken the wrong fork in a road or something. They weren't sure. The farmer, however, was human, and she had gone with her mother, whose human was not. She had enough to communicate with Magdalene's father about, like, certain things, but mostly they conversed in Dwarven at Magdalene's home. Fortunately, Magdalene not only knew human from speaking with her father, but she also happened to be brushing up on both her human and her Elvish while she was at Questmore. She was able to approach the farmer and ask for directions. Now, Magdalene did make her way back to Questmore for the final bit of the semester, which is where the students get to choose who they will be going on quests with. Magdalene did hit it off with one particular group at first. They started bonding over the fact that they were all from rather humble backgrounds. They all had families that they wanted to support. However, unfortunately for her, while they were bonding over their backgrounds and the hardships that they had faced as children, they found out that she was related to Lady Cassie von Briarshire. It turns out that they were not particularly fans of Lady Cassie. And so we come to our first consequence. Reminder for consequences: if I roll a 5 or higher, then I get to escape the consequence. It doesn't affect me. I don't have to redo this quest. However, if I roll a 4 or lower, I will have to redo this quest with a new book. So that will be one extra quest that I have to do in addition to my 8 that I have to do. And oh man, I am rolling with disadvantage because I combined. All right, well, this should be interesting. So 4 or lower, I have to roll this twice now and see whichever number is lower. Okay, that is a 5. Okay, we're okay. If I roll above a 5, everything is fine. So, oh god, that's a 16. Haha. Okay, so we're okay. I was worried there for a minute. I mean, I probably could have pulled off 9 quests with all of the books that I am reading next month. Now, as it turns out, when Magdalene kind of dug into this group's dislike of her cousin, the reason they didn't like her was because she happened to have a pet duck. And Magdalene thought that that was a very silly reason to dislike someone, and being a very loyal family member, being very close with her cousin, having spent many summers with her cousin and actually kind of liking the duck, because the duck is a pretty cool duck, she decided that this was not the right questing party for her and walked off. Magdalene obviously will still need to find a questing party at some point in this journey, but she did pass her 3rd year at Questmore. She walked across that stage. She has been declared an amateur adventurer, and she is ready to go forth into Fablen. Alright, now that we know how Magdalene did in her final year at Questmore, it is time to tell y'all what comes next. If you've been following along with Questmore and you are now passing your 3rd year, you are now an amateur adventurer. There are a couple of things that change with you becoming an amateur adventurer. You now need a 6 or higher to pass consequences. If you roll a 5 or lower, you will have to take whatever consequence comes with that quest. Also, now that you are an amateur adventurer, you have the option to quit a bad job. This means that you are able to swap out books. There are two ways that you can do this. You can do it once at any point in a book. You can swap it out for another book that meets the prompt. Or you can do it multiple times, provided that A, the book meets the prompt, and then also you are less than 10% into the book. The other thing you need to keep an eye out for now is unmet character traits will now result in consequences. So like, if you don't read your genre, if you don't read for whatever the weapon is, or you don't meet the page count for your magical ability, you will be facing consequences for those as well. Obviously, if you don't read all of the quests that you're supposed to, or do all of the quests that you're supposed to do, that obviously already has consequences, so I'm not adding one for that particular character trait. It's just species, weapon, and magical ability. I will be continuing to update this with the levels. There are going to be a few, and the way that you get from one level to the next is going to be a mixture of completing a certain number of quests and then doing a specific amount of hours of adventuring. I will have all of that in the Fablen rules updated for each occupation. Things will be a little bit different depending on what your occupation is. Alright, time to pull my quests and figure out what books I am reading. I have some that I have on my TBR for Orilium that I'm going to try and read and to meet, but let's go ahead. I'm going to do this a little bit differently. I'm going to pull the quest and then do the book. I did add a few more new ones in here for Avengers stuff, but I think this is an older one. Let's see. Okay. Dragonology for beginners. Read a book with dragons. Great. Okay. Fantastic. If I fail this quest, my animal companion will not be able to help me in May. For this one, I am going to go with Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. There is a dragon. Can't see my face. There's a dragon on the cover. So I am assuming since there is a dragon on the cover, there's something to do with dragons in the book. This is the final book in the Farseer trilogy, and it follows Fitz Chivalry Farseer. He is the bastard son of what was once the Crown Prince, but then when everyone found out that Fitz existed, Crown Prince abdicated, went to his brother. There's a whole bunch of stuff, but basically Fitz has been, because he is a royal bastard, he's being trained as an assassin. We'll do 2 Robin Hobb books in 1 month. Should be fun. Quest number 2. That just fell out. I guess we'll take that one. Am I gonna regret this? Oh, okay. All right. Number 38, I have to sneak into a masquerade, which is to read a book where there is dancing. If I fail this quest, I will roll with disadvantage on all consequence rolls. Okay, so for this, I am going to be reading The Long Halloween by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sally. This does, in fact, have dancing in it. If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. Iconic scene. I've been meaning to reread this, and I need to do so for BookTube Beta. So we're going to be rereading this real quick so that I can do what I want to do with it. And quest number 3. This one. This is one of the new ones. Oh dear. Okay. 35. Adventures at Sea. Read a book set at sea. If I do not complete this quest, I cannot start any new quests until this book is finished. This is going to be an easy one. Thank goodness. For this one, the obvious option is going to be Mad Ship by Robin Hobb. This is the second book in the Liveship Traders series, and from what it's about a whole bunch of people, but the main characters are like Althea and Wintro and the Vivacia, which is the ship, but basically it's in this world where the ships have souls. Basically these ships end up being brought into families, and after a certain number of like family members have died on their decks, which basically you just live your whole life sailing that ship, bonding with the ship, and then when it's time for you to go, you die there. Once they do that, the ship becomes quickened, which means that the ship is now kind of basically alive. It has intelligence, it's going to be able to communicate with you, and they're just very, very special ships that it gives them several advantages. Like they're able to communicate other certain things, there's knowledge that the live ships have, and all of that. I'm interested in seeing where this goes from here. I was a little bit frustrated with certain parts of the first book, but that's fine. We'll deal with it. We'll deal with it. Quest number 4. Illuminated Texts. Read a book that has decorations on the cover. For consequence, if I fail this, I have to add pages to a quest. The number of pages is determined by rolling a d6 plus 10, or times 10. Okay, so for like a fancy book, I am going to go with The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. This is about the Alexandrian Society, and it's like there are 6 new recruits that are being recruited into this society. They have various different skills, and that is all that I know about it. I just know that it sounds good. Ooh, okay, you know what we're gonna do? Because this glare is not helping nobody, we're gonna do this. I would like to get some of the ones that are not the new ones. So let's see if I can. All the way at the bottom. Okay, here, this looks like it might not be a new one. 3, crafting a magic wand. Read a book with a sparkly cover. I have to add 50 pages to my magical ability requirement in May. Okay, so for sparkly cover, I know this is going to be a little bit of a stretch, but if like you look closely, the scales on the snake sparkle. So please go with me for this one, but I'm going to be reading Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I don't remember what this is about. It's about, let's see, it's about Alex Stern. Oh, that's right. So it's about Alex Stern, and she ends up going to Yale because they're doing an investigation for something, and she's part of this investigation. I believe there is possibly magic or just dark academia involved. Oh, there are multiple murders involved. That's what's happening. Lots of murders, but it is, if you get real close here, if you get real close, you can see the scales are kind of iridescent, and they do sparkle a bit. So that was the closest I could get to a sparkly book on my TBR, and it fits, so we're going with it. This quest is Quester for hire, which means I get hired by a quester. Read a book for another readathon or reading challenge. Add 1 quest to your usual quest load if you fail. Obviously, for a book for another reading challenge, we're gonna go with Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky because it's for the Avengers Initiative reading challenge. Like I said, this is about Tristan Strong. He punches a hole in the sky. He has to fix the fact that he has punched a hole in the sky. We've already discussed this, so do we need to discuss it any further? No, we do not. I'll talk about it more when I know more about it. Quest number 7 is going to be on the floor. I guess we'll take the one that fell out. Oof. That's going to be a hard one to figure out. Buying winter gear. Read a book that takes place in winter. I have to add 1 quest to my usual quest load if I fail this one. So for a book set in winter, I am going to be reading Cold the Night, Fast the Wolves. This is a book that I got an ARC for a while back, and I never really got around to it, so I'm going to read it now. But it is about Senna Korhosen, and it's set in the future on another planet, and there's like this famous sled race that she is doing. A captivating debut about survival, found family, and the bond between a girl and a wolf that delivers a fresh twist on classic survivor stories and frontier myths. Obviously, since we're doing a sled race, it's going to take place in winter. Alright, and the final quest. This one is deliver a warning to the corrupt mayor. Read a book with a confrontation, and then I get to add pages to a quest. The final book that I have to read for my April, well, it's not the final book I have to read for my April TBR because there are going to be other books that we're going to talk about, and I have to read all of the books that I say I'm going to read in this video. But that is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This is about a murder that happened at a college, and a dude went away for it, and then the detective is still curious about like what happened, why did this murder take place, and dude's been released from prison finally, and so the detective is like, okay, I want to know like the real story behind this. You've already been tried, you've already been convicted, all that. I want to know like what really happened. And so the guy is going to tell him, from what I understand. I assume if a murder has happened, there will be a confrontation sometime in this book. And then the final bit that we need to talk about is what I am reading for Orilium. So starting with Inscription, I have 2 books that were going to meet that anyways. So I guess I could actually say I have 3 books now because I have Assassin's Quest there. So for Inscription, since I need to get an O, I'm going to be reading Madship as my first intimidating read. I'm also going to say that Ninth House is an intimidating read, so I will be reading that to try and get a Q in Inscription, just in case I'm interested in doing something later. So for Art of Illusion, I have to read at least 1 book with a trope that I like. You can't double up on prompts, by the way, but I am going to be reading Foul is Fair by Hannah Capin. This is a retelling of Macbeth, and I love retellings of Shakespeare plays. Macbeth is not my favorite, so we'll see how that goes, but I do love retellings of Shakespeare plays. That's just, like, I like retellings in general. So this is about Jade, and she ends up transferring to St. Andrews. It's a prep school, and she's decided that she's going to end up at the top of the hierarchy of these people at this prep school, but she ends up coming afoul of this boy named Mac. I believe it starts out with there's some bullying or something that's going on. I'm not entirely sure, but this was recommended to me specifically by Bear over at Etu Brody when I was looking for recommendations for a video, and since they recommended it, I want to read it. Now, moving on to Psionics and Divination, I have to get a qualified in that one, which means I need to read 2 books. The first book that we will be reading for Psionics and Divination is The Marrow Thieves by Sherry Dimmeline. This is one that I tried to read for a Digithon a couple of years ago, and I just never got around to finishing it, but it was really good from what I started. It's a dystopian where indigenous people are being hunted down for their marrow because that is the only way that non-indigenous people are able to sleep. They stop dreaming or something, and I guess there is some connection between indigenous people. This is specifically, I believe, about the Métis because the author is Canadian and this takes place in Canada. So it's about a boy named... Oh, we don't tell you his name. It follows a specific boy that, like, he's the only one of his family left that has not been taken. Like, his parents are gone, his brother has been taken, and he's trying to get back to a place where he's in a safe place. I especially want to read it because I believe there is a sequel coming out. So I want to, like, get through this so that I'm ready for when that sequel comes out. The other book that I am going to be reading for Psionics and Divination is The Atlas 6. It is listed as science fiction, so I am assuming, I'm hoping, I'm praying that there is some sort of sci-fi element. If there is not, I can always pick up the next Expanse book. We'll do that. I haven't yet. I like to take a break between books, so I'm not completely stressed my entire life. And then moving on to the books that I need to read for lore, I have to get a Distinguished in that one. So I will be reading, first off, Tristan Strong, because I have to read that one. And it's definitely about lore and divination and all of that. The other books that I am going to be reading for that are If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. It's about Shakespeare stuff, and there is mythology and Shakespeare stuff, so I'm counting that. That's going to work. If it ends up there's no mythology in it, I have plenty of books that I can read that do have mythology in them, so... And then the final one that I am reading for lore is going to be Cold the Night, Fast the Wolves by Meg Long. It says it's about it's based on frontier myths and lore and stuff like that. So we will see if that works as well. I'm taking a little bit of a risk with that one, I know, but that's what I am going to do because of what I need to be reading. As we go throughout the month, I will be vlogging for Veda and stuff. So, like, I'll keep you updated with what I'm doing. Went ahead and threw Such a Fun Age up there because I need to read that as well. And then I remembered that I don't have to worry about completing a specific number of these. I can just, like, I mean, I'll be punished, but obviously I can just, like, stick to the ones that I need to read for projects and all of that good stuff. So, yay me, because that's 11 books that I need to read this month. Let's hope audiobooks are kind to me. Anyways, let me know in the comments if you're feeling chatty. Let me know what you are reading for the month of April. What is the book that you have been most intimidated by in your April TBR? What is the one that you've been putting off the longest? You look at that one and you go, I'm questioning my judgment there. I will say I think the most intimidating read on mine is probably going to be Madship, just because I know I like the, even though I think this one might be longer, I know I like this world, and I'm not sure how I feel about the Liveship Traders characters just yet. So we'll see how that works. If you're not feeling chatty, go ahead and give me like the emoji, since we are going into Book 2 Beta and I am supposed to be doing 1 video a day for 30 days. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and check out the videos I will have over here. I'll have my Fablen playlist over here if you want to go ahead and backtrack and follow along with what's going on, get an idea of what's going on. And then I will also go ahead, once it's up, I'll link my March wrap up right here for y'all so you can see what I thought of the books that I read. That is it for now, my friends. Happy reading, and I will see you later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye! As it turns out, that has glare on it. We will start out with the one that y'all guys